All right, looks like I am live. Welcome. Hey, I'm Elle Martinez, host and creator of Couple Money, and I'm excited to start off 2021 with this first monthly Q&A. And we have a lot that we're going to be talking about. If you got the email, you kind of know the agenda, but if you're just tuning in and wanting to see what we're going to chat about, is we're going to talk about how to create the right goals to help you guys move in the direction that you want to with your money, whether that's paying down debt, saving more, investing for the future. And then we're also going to look at like figuring out which goals are the ones that are going to matter most to you, and then setting things up so that your money is automatically moving in the direction that makes the most sense. And I'm also going to reveal what the monthly money challenge is. And so, why don't we just kind of jump right in? I know people get excited about New Year, but honestly, the truth is like any date in particular, you can start picking up and doing better habits. It doesn't matter. You can start it at the beginning of any month, but I will say this year, after the dumpster fire that was 2020, many people are ready and excited to start tackling a new goal and moving forward with their marriage and their finances. But you probably know, have these high hopes, we have goals, but do we actually hit them when it comes to December? You know, not counting 2020, but at the end of the year, how good do you feel about the goals that you accomplished? So let's talk about that. Like, what is the percentage of people that actually hit their money goals? And if you have any guesses, you can put that in the chat. Um, but I will tell you, I was stunned when I was looking this up. And there's different studies out there. There are different surveys that are done. One of my favorites is from Fidelity. They do it every year about what people are looking forward to. And they found that many people have goals, but succeeding is a different matter. And so, in case you didn't know, less than 10% on average actually hit the goals they make at the beginning of the year, which can be understandably incredibly frustrating. So, how do you break that cycle? How do the two of you kind of sync up with your goals and actually achieve it? And I think we have to address like the big hurdles that we face. And the first one is figuring out what goal to tackle first. One of the biggest struggles we had when we were first going on our journey to paying off that debt was trying to do too many things at once and then just getting burned out. So how do you decide like what is my first or my main goal for the year? So why don't we first break down, what kind of goals can we have with our finances? And I want to say, if you look at finances, it's kind of like a journey and there's phases to it. So for 2020, a lot of us, discovered very quickly how strong our finances were. So the first goal, if you haven't already reached this, is focusing on financial stability. What does that mean? That means making sure that you have a financial cushion, an emergency fund in place should something happen to you. With the financial fallout with COVID, many people saw their hours drop. Unfortunately, certain industries completely shut down because of the pandemic. And those are very lean times for sure. So if you haven't already, even before you're trying to like tackle all this debt, maybe that you want to get rid of, make sure you have that savings in your bank account. Absolutely crucial. Um, the the traditional advice that they gave, with personal finance, and even I had mentioned it before, is like look around to 3 to 6 months of essential expenses. But if you've been burned last year with what was going on, I think it's perfectly fine and normal to feel like you want to have something bigger, something more like 9 to 12 months, which may seem daunting, but I do want to point out when I say emergency fund, I'm talking about the essential expenses: roof over your head, food, necessary transportation, and of course, the important utilities like water and electric. Um, Many families, when they see that number, they kind of relax a little bit because it's not nearly as much as they expected. For example, if you have $5,000 of monthly expenses regular, that's everything. Look at the essential expenses. You may find that it's closer to 3,500 a month, which is not a small amount, but that's more manageable than trying to cover all your expenses. Another goal, which we mentioned, which is tackling your debt, getting rid of your debt, especially the high interest debt like credit cards. So, this upcoming week, we're relaunching the new season of the podcast, and I'm excited. We're talking about breaking goals. The second episode, we are specifically tackling credit card debt. And if you have that out of all your debts, this is something that you definitely want to put your attention and focus on because the high interest debt almost feels like quicksand. Your money in your budget just gets sucked up by that because even when you are putting some money in, it's not really making a dent on it. So, if you do have that financial cushion, if you do have enough where you feel stable, or both of you are working and your income seems fairly stable, then try to knock out that credit card debt. Put that on your to do list for this year. And then going forward is getting a little bit more of this wiggle room, some more options available. And this would be building up your financial cushion for the purpose of reaching a specific goal. Maybe you want to pursue a different career, make a career change. Maybe you want to start a side hustle or a business on the side, or maybe you're a parent and you want to cut back on the hours. uh, Having that money built up, saving for a specific goal, could be for a house. That would make more sense after you've taken care of the high interest debt that you have. And then finally, if you're doing well or you were further along in your financial journey when 2020 hit, then you can look at things like investing for your future, whether that looks specifically towards financial independence, retiring early, or also considering investing for more charitable giving. I think many of us saw that there was a need, and there are many great organizations out there that are doing good work in the community that maybe you find that you want to support. So, making that be a part of your goals or one of your financial goals for the year is absolutely crucial. So, give me a second. I am looking at the questions. I did a little bit of research, I had some questions submitted. And you guys, if you haven't already, please join the community. I send on a weekly basis the best marriage and money tips that I have to help the two of you sync up. Just go to couplemoney.com/join. That way you can grab that and get that information as it goes live and get heads up on things like this live chat. So let's talk a little bit more of like, how do you figure out like which goal to tackle and how do you break down that goal so that you can create an automated system that your money is moving in the right direction? And I say this because another big mistake that couples make, everybody makes with their goals, is there's this myth that you only rely on willpower. And I do feel like willpower and a commitment to your goal is necessary, but in the real world, a lot of things come up. You know, we are both working from home, we have two young kids. It's very easy for our days to be filled and we forget to take care of something. And so for our finances, much of it is automated. But before you can automate things, one of the key things you need to do is identify what is the goal that you're trying to have. That way you can set up your bill pay and your transfers towards that goal. So, like, how do you figure out how are you going to tackle that goal? And I'm going to use paying off debt because that is a huge one right now, as the example. One of the biggest mistakes I have people say when they email me is, we are ready to knock out the debt and we're going to do it as fast as possible. And I'm like, that is great. how much are you going to put towards the month? And, you know, what are you going to do about any extra income? What plan do you have in place to make that happen? And that's where a lot of us we skip that step. We're like, yeah, I just sent out an extra 200. Maybe you got the bonus. Maybe you got your stimulus check already, and you immediately put that goal uh, towards that goal. And that is fantastic. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. And so, something that if you listen to the podcast I talk about is taking those goals that you have and breaking it down into a SMART goal. And so, for example, paying down debt. Good goal to have, but a better way to do it is to be specific. So, pay down debt, that's very vague. Oh, what is your actual goal? How much debt are you going to pay off? And it might sound obvious, but this is something that I've been guilty of. I used to get the, credit card payments. I'd see the minimum, write a check out for that or send in the money that way and be done with it and not really look at the balance. But understanding how much debt are you hoping to pay off? And then have a way to track it. So let's say that you are trying to pay off your credit card. Well, you have $2,000 on that credit card. Very rough estimate, you're doing less than 200 a month, maybe say 175, 180 a month for those payments. Well, how much per week is that? And if you look at your current goal, then your current budget, then you can look at that and say, well, do I have an extra 180 right now? You don't? Okay. How much do I have? I have an extra $100 I can put in. Well, that's great. That's something that you can right now, starting today in January, schedule that with your bill pay and start making that. And then what you can then figure out is that $80 difference. Where do I find that money? And oh my goodness, and allergies. And then from there, it becomes more doable because now you're not like scrambling to look for 180. You've already allocated that money and you have $80, left. That's 20 a week. How can you readjust your goals, your budget to make that happen? And if you haven't already, I do have a free course on my site, couplemoney.com/5K. And what that does, it teaches you how to go through your budget step by step, line by line, and find ways to get extra money from your budget without sacrificing fun, without sacrificing quality of life. Because when you have these tips, it helps you to negotiate better deals with your companies like credit cards. I have a script on, dealing with the cable and internet company. What do you say with your insurance, company to get the best rates and where to look at? So if you haven't already, just go to couplemoney.com/5K. It's a free course and it's sent to you throughout the week, but you can go at your own pace. So if you do one email a week, by the middle of February, you are good to go and you have your system set up. So, take it step by step, take it little by little, and you'll be able to hit those goals one by one. And then finally, the biggest question I get is, okay, I'm excited about paying off debt, or I'm excited about saving for X, Y, and Z. How do I get my spouse on board? And you see that they hesitate. You see sometimes they break the budget, and it's just a source of frustration. And one of the best things you can do, and it sounds counterintuitive, is to kind of hit a pause on the numbers for a second. And if possible, whether it's at home, I know, we're on restrictions here in Raleigh, North Carolina, or if you're out, in the park having a date, talk about, what would they like to do if money weren't an issue? And the key reason here is what you're trying to do is find what motivates them. And when you start aligning your goals towards things that matter to them and things that matter to you, the both of you are going to be more likely to stick with it. So paying off debt, it's a great goal. But I've seen too many couples email me and basically they had cut the budget to the bone and just told their spouse, "Hey, we have to do this. We need to be debt free. We're just sick and tired of, seeing our money go to the credit card, the car loan, the student loans, etc." And their spouse is like, "This is a no deal for me. I can't do this. This is deprivation." But I've also seen, and we've experienced this too, where instead you focus on saying, what is it that you want to do? And your spouse says, "You know what? We don't travel enough. I really want to have the flexibility to travel, or I want to be able to spend more time with the kids, or have this great idea, this side project, but I just don't have the money to get started on that." Now, knowing that, you can then craft your plan. You can say, yes, if we can get debt free, if we can get rid of the credit card debt, once we knock that out, that's an extra $200 a month that we can put, and a certain amount will go towards your goals. A certain amount will go to, my goals. And of course, you have your family goals. And so now you're starting to align your budget with who and what matters most to you. And that is absolutely key. That is what makes a difference between having a goal and just starting off strong and not finishing, versus actually hitting that goal and maybe hitting it faster than you anticipated because you're motivated. So, if you ever have any questions about how to sync up with your finances, my first piece of advice is go on a date, whether it's at home, somewhere else, and just put a pause on the numbers and instead talk about, what would you like to do if we didn't have to worry about this? And another key advice, yeah, if you want to kind of motivate them and see what a differences would be, is to take up all the debt that you're currently paying for your student loans or your car loans or your credit cards, and say, look, if we knock all of these out, at some point we're going to have an extra 600, 800, it could be even more. Um, Interviewed a couple where it was 2,000 a month of their money was going towards that. Can you imagine what we could do with that much money going towards our goals? So finding that motivation is absolutely key this year and any year to hitting those really important financial goals, but more importantly, your life goals, because money shouldn't be the end all be all. I just want you to see it as a tool to build a life that the both of you love. And so, with that in mind, every month this year, we're going to be doing a monthly money challenge. It's something that you can do just for 30 days, focus on one thing at a time. And these are going to be key financial habits that will help you move closer to what you want to do, whether it's paying off debt, whether it's saving more for a specific goal, or investing so you can retire faster. This first month is really easy to set up, but it is profound in how it can help you. And that is tracking your spending. What do you think? I know you're probably thinking that's not a really big deal. I know where my money goes, but do you really? I've done some surveys within the community, and while we are pretty good about figuring out, how much we take home, we're not so good with all of our expenses. It's just overwhelmed. We have a lot of smaller expenses that kind of go under the radar, or we have things that are regular bills that we don't consider when we're looking at our monthly budget. So, one of the best things you can do is to set up your bank accounts in a way that all the numbers are pulled for you. And there's several different ways you can do this. You can use an app. And I have some favorite ones I'll include down in the show notes once this live session goes and closes up. But Tiller, Personal Capital, Mint, these are options that you can use. If the two of you are specifically trying to sync up and talk about money, Honeyfi and Zeta are great apps specifically designed for couples looking to communicate better with their money. But maybe you're not an app person. Well, in that case, you have spreadsheets that you can use. That there are plenty of templates. I have one myself for couple money that specifically is for two income. You can just adjust it. And then There's nothing wrong with pen and paper. The important thing is no matter what system you use one that makes the most sense to you and your style. If you're more an app person, an app is going to keep you on track. If you are more of a person who loves like pen and paper or putting a chart up, then you're probably going to go with a spreadsheet. And if you like um, making it your own and customizing it and it's highly variable, then just go ahead and use a pen and paper and then adjust, see how that goes, and then you'll know what the best tool is going forward. So, those are a few of the different options that are out there. But if you ever have a question on how you want to handle your finances as a couple and sync up on things, please leave a question in the comments below. I'd be happy to help you. And as always, you can always hit the subscribe button and get the latest marriage and money tips sent straight to you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Take care.